Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to do extracting the square roots. So this method is more of an algebraic manipulation, specifically transposition, addition property of equality, and etc. So I expect you to know the basics of exponents and radicals. If you don't know yet, then I encourage you to review it. So extracting square roots has two scenarios. So let me explain. So let's say I have a quadratic equation of ax squared plus c. So there are two possible cases for this one. Case number one. So if c is negative, then our x is possibly then our x is a real number. Case number two, if our c is positive, then our x will be imaginary. So these are the two possible scenarios if we're going to use extracting the square roots. So x is imaginary. So these are the two possible scenarios. Okay. So what do we mean by imaginary? That is if the answer has the square root of -1 or I. Okay, so to understand this more, let us have some examples. Let's see where this is gonna end. So let's say starts with the basic. So let's say x squared plus 9 is equal to 0. So obviously the first thing you need to do is to transpose 9, or to subtract 9 on both sides. So that's the trick there, and we have x squared equals -9. Now we're going to square both sides, and then this is the extracting squares gonna work. So basically we're going to separate the negative and the 9. So it will become something like this. Notice that 9 is a perfect square because 9 is equal to 3 squared. So therefore the square root of 9 is equal to 3. Now we know that there is already a negative a square root of -1, and we know that the square root of -1 is equal to I. So therefore the following expression is just equivalent to positive or negative 3i. So therefore this is our answer. Next, let us have a second example. So let's say 3, so we're gonna involve some rational expressions here. So let's say 3z squared over 8 plus 9 equals 25. To solve this, let us remove, there are actually two ways, but I'm going to show you the one way of it so that the 8 in the denominator will disappear. So the first step is to multiply both sides by 8. And then, if you're going to simplify, we have 3z squared because 8 times 3z squared over 8 is 3z squared. And then 9 times 8, so I'm going to write 9 times 8 equals 25 times 8. using your calculator, and if you want to manually solve it, 9 times 8 is just 72. Well, 25 times 8 is it's like 25 times 4 times 2, because 4 times 2 is equal to 8. So 25 times 4, 100. 100 times 2 is equal to 200. Scroll down. 3z squared plus 72 equals 200. Subtract both sides by 72. Okay, let's use red. -72 is equal to 0, so the remaining is 3z squared. 200 minus 72, that is 128. Divide both sides by 3 because we want to... Okay, let us use a different color instead. Just wait for a while. So basically, we are just multiplying both sides by the inverse of 3, and that is 1/3. So 1/3 times 3z squared is equal to z squared. 128. This is just 128 over 3. Next, z squared. So we are going to, what do you call this? We will just square it both sides, and we have z positive or negative 128 over the square root of 3. Now, let us check if 128 has a factor that is a perfect square. Let us try 4. 128 divided by 4 is 12 divided by 4, that is 3, 32. So therefore the fact if you're going to expand the factored form of 128, that is 32 times 4. And yes, 32, 4 is a perfect square, so we will square root it, so it becomes 2. And we know that 32 is actually 16 times 2. Because if you're going to multiply 16 times 2, that is 6 times 2, 12, here you 1, 2 times 1 plus 1 is 32. So therefore, 32 is equal to 16 times 2 over the square root of 3. Okay, so 16. So the square root of 16 is 4. So it becomes 2 times 4, 8. 2 over the square root of 3. Now, we want to rationalize this fraction, since we have a denominator that is a radical, and we do not want that. So we will multiply both the numerator and denominator by the square root of 3. Therefore, we have positive or negative 8, the square root of 6 over 3. And this is our answer. Let us have a final example. It's quite hard. Not really hard, but I think this is much easier than the previous ones. Let's say we have y squared minus 225 equals 25. Okay, since our leading coefficient, which is the numerical coefficient of y squared, is 1, then we can just transpose 225 to this side. So it becomes, okay, I'm gonna remove the circle because it may be considered as 0. So anyways, let's continue. Y squared is equal to 25 plus, okay, remember, plus 225. Now, y squared, okay, wrong color. Y squared, 25 plus 225, that is equal to 250. Square root both sides, that is equal to 2y, equals positive, negative. 250 is actually 25 times 10. Now, since 25 is a perfect square, then we can square root it, so it becomes 5, positive or negative 5 times the square root of 10. Therefore, our y is positive or negative 5 times the square root of 10. So that is it for today, guys. I hope you learned something, and I hope you learn well. I hope you gain new insights how to do this technique. By the way, I have a paper about this one named Ways on How to Solve Quadratic Equations. You can try some exercises so that you can practice. And this is for our tutorial. Thank you very much.